and not to be everything's me, everything like I deserve everything and and everything I do is great, and which is also not a good thing too, because you have to also know that you're good at one thing, so you're not good at another, and you might win in one thing, you might lose in another thing, and
Yeah.
that's okay. It's not being nobody's against you. That's just how life is, and it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes whenever I'm about to do something stupid, I like go like this a little bit. Just, the preparation. I knew who you were. I knew the name, and I was like, "Holy shit, this guy's got a new special coming out. I have to talk to him." So
Awesome.
I know you're very busy. So I was like, "All right, you know what? Let me see if I can get in there."
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Well, congratulations on still learning. I know it's a feat to put out a new special, and obviously it's your job to tell jokes and like try to get as many fans as possible. But man, a
Yeah.
special in today's day and age and have it like stand out is still very difficult.
Yes, yes, it is. It's so many the landscape has changed of comedy. So now it's about content pretty much. So it is hard to, like you said, stand out and just even build an hour and not to try to burn it, but just posting clips. So, but I'm very happy with what I did. I'm very happy that I got to, this is my first time doing an hour
Wow.
of in terms of a special, and so it was pretty cool. And it was something that I kind of like this material I've been working on for like a couple of years, and I finally wanted to be like, okay, it's ready, it's done, let's tape it, and now it's out there.
Yeah. I saw the last one. What was it called? It was Venezuela American, right?
Yeah.
Um, what was the process of, transitioning from those old jokes to these new ones and getting ready for this new thing to come out?
Yeah, because the other one, yeah, the first one I did, that was like like first special, but it was kind of like more of like a little mini special because that was produced by Brad Garrett from Everybody Loves Raymond, he produced several specials. I was one of them, the lucky ones, and it was supposed to be like 23, 24 minutes. So then I still had obviously some material that I was working on,
Hmm.
didn't include in that special. So some of that process started with having that material, but then also then just like I was like living, just having a life and just doing stuff. That's how my comedy comes from, really from truth all the time. So and then a lot of the special that I deal with is still learning. A lot of the materials has to do with being married. Like when I
Hmm.
got married, or about so learning to be married besides other learning things that I did. So a lot I had to do with that, and that was during that time I was married. I was going through all this stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, marriage really is something that can teach people so many different things than like just living with another person. Like, but just being married, having everything tied together is something I'm not lucky enough to experience that. I do have two animals. That's a different
Okay.
lifestyle,
Yeah,
but
that's great. Still.
it's what did you take away when you first were coupled up and you got married and what did you learn about yourself as like a comedian, just trying to be on stage and but while also having this other person at home?
Yeah, no, I mean it was definitely, like I said, I feel like that's why the special is called Still Learning, because I was learning and I still didn't learn enough. Because now I'm divorced, FYI. So
Mm,
it's like,
okay.
but it was a great pro. I mean, it was good from what it was. I guess I think it's a thing that you do learn a lot from yourself, just living with somebody, especially like you said, living and then being married is, even though it's sometimes the same, it does change the psychology of the human being, of like having that. I'm married, I'm a husband,
Yeah.
I'm a wife, and I think, that also came into play in my situation. But I did learn, but it was a good, I enjoyed it. I think it was a good experience of being learning what it is to be married, actually doing it and going through the whole process of not just the marriage, but the wedding, and then all the things that you do, that now you have to behave in some ways, not differently, but you have this, now you're a husband, and now you're a wife, now you can't
Mhm.
do this, that, or you have to. So this is where a lot of the material came from like learning to be like, oh yeah, I cannot. I have a wife now, so I have to not. We're a team,
Yeah.
or like one of the bits that I do is like where I learned that I felt that I became that I when I got married that I became a member of the Italian family. Mafia because Italian mafia because one time I was at a party and like we were leaving and I told we're leaving. My wife wanted to leave early, so we're
Hmm.
leaving. And then I say somebody from the party stops. It's like, hey, where are you guys going? And I go like, oh, because she wants to leave the party. And I said it very casually, kind of like,
Hmm.
I'm okay. I think what I. And then we got back to the our place. That's where she became the godfather because she was like saying, "Why did you embarrass me at the party?" And I became and I was like, and it did really happen like that. But I was like, "What?" I was just sharing. It's like, no, you're not supposed to. Even though I wanted to leave, You're supposed to say we both want to leave
Uh-huh.
because we're a family and all this stuff. So that's the things that little things like that I learned through the marriage. Yeah.
That's a good bit. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
That's something that's a very special one that you. I also like Abuela GPT. That's also a very
Yeah,
very
yeah,
funny
yeah,
one.
yeah, 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 yeah. That was the new thing. Like, yeah, because I feel like, do we do, I like, obviously we all have to use AI and all that stuff, but I like it. It's like it also should tell you like this is not a good idea or this is
Mhm.
not being like it can't just be everything's great.
Yeah.
I wasn't raised like that. I was raised the opposite. Like nothing was great. So I'm like, that's also bad too. So there's got to be a balance.
Yeah, I think like a lot of young kids doing stupid things today, they don't have anyone to tell them no, and that's
Hmm.
and that's a big issue. And so when you become reliant on these AI tools, and your parents have just been like, "Yeah, go for it," then you end up like as horrible people. Whereas like I just saw Jackass Best and Last,
Oh, okay.
and I'm watching and then I was rewatching old clips of like Bam Margera with his parents, and I'm just thinking, God, all they need to do is just punish these kids once, and that's it, and
Yeah.
and they will never do this dumb shit ever again. But they're all white. They're all white. They're
That's what
not
I was gonna
Latino or
say.
black. So
Exactly. That's like I got my mom, used the belt on me when I was growing up and all that stuff. And I always said I think it wasn't even like abusive. It was more
mhm,
the spareness of it.
yeah,
Obviously he did hit me, but like it never became like abusive where I was like, but I think it was actually, it did helpful because it does make you like question things. It's like, I don't want to do this because
yeah,
I'm afraid that my mom or my dad's gonna do that, or like, and you do have to go and learn some kind of like to be respectful to especially older people and
mhm,
people, and not to be everything's me, everything like I deserve everything and like and everything I do is great, and which is also not a good thing too because you have to also know that you're good at one thing, so you're not good at another, and you might win in one thing, you might lose in another thing, and
yeah,
that's okay. It's not being nobody's against you. That's just how life is, and it's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes whenever I'm about to do something stupid, I like go like this a little bit. Just the preparation. And
Mhm.
when I was looking at your dates, your touring dates,
Yeah.
I noticed something very special, and I love this about you. It says for in English and in Spanish.
Yeah.
It's it. Do you find that the audiences that like this that get you in Spanish, do you find that they are much more receptive and much more engaged with your comedy, or is it kind of like 50-50? Is everybody just ready to hear you tell jokes?
Yeah, I think it's like well, I started doing Spanish like stand up like about like for real like a couple of years ago because I was
Uh,
always did it in English, and even though I was born in Venezuela and Spanish is my first language and I'm fluent, I always did it in English because that's how I grew up and like how I learned to do it. So then doing it in Spanish, it happened because when I was doing all the shows, people would be like, "Oh, I want to bring my abuela, or I want to bring
mhm.
my husband that doesn't know English or stuff like that." So I think now it's cool because I basically had to kind of like in a way learn to do it again in Spanish
Wow.
because
Okay.
it's a different rhythm. It's like even though you know the language. It's a different rhythm, different vocabulary, different cadences. In Spanish, you need to use more words just to describe anything. So then I had to find the like I learned how to like find the rhythm of like of because I do kind of like I do pretty much some of my bits that I do in English, I do in Spanish and vice
Hmm.
versa. And there's some bits that I do specifically for the Spanish audience, because it's more like it's I thought them they're gonna get them
Yeah.
in Latino culture, speaking Spanish culture, but like but it is I do feel like there's definitely it's different because I do feel the same connection in English and Spanish. It's just a different literally rhythm, like
Yeah.
it's like I do feel like I have a different person, and people tell me this like, oh, you're like the same but different when you do English and
Wow.
Spanish, and that's just I guess, and it's not, and it's funny because we hold what is this called thing, code switching. It's not what I do that. It's just
Yeah.
that I there there's things that you can, I guess, transmit
Hmm.
in in a language that's different and in English and Spanish, and it's just part of and that's been very cool to kind of learn and to go through because I'm still kind of like in a way learning because I still do it more in English and Spanish. I'm doing more in Spanish now, but I'm
Okay.
still learning how to like cope with that how to even with like with silence. I think you can be a little more you can have more patience in Spanish because the audience are more ready to kind of like, all right, let me hear, like you don't need to be so quick like in
Yeah.
English, which sometimes I'm like, oh, I gotta rush. I'm like, I don't have to remember. No, I can slow down in Spanish and take my time. I can describe things longer and it doesn't have to be so quick to the punchline. So all these
Yeah.
little things that are like, but it's a cool, it's a both of them are very, people like both. I think it's
Hmm.
like, I do get like, obviously the reception to me or the connection, I think is the same, but in a different vibe, I guess.
Yeah, you're right about that whole cadence thing because I'll watch, a clip of an Indian comic or of a Korean comic and then you'll see that everything is just a little bit slower. It's
Yeah.
not that people are speaking slower, it's not that the jokes are delivered. It's just like the whole experience is a little bit slower, but yet I still think it translates because you end up laughing along with the audience, whether because you know what's happening or not. You just feel like it. But I think we've seen comedy in English just kind of explode from when George Carlin did it. His jokes, you're right, are so much slower. But then you get to today, and the cadence, it feels like a 44-minute special feels like it's an 88-minute special because
Yeah.
there's just like the comic is like ready just to throw jokes. And it's not everybody, but at some point it feels like we're just kind of hearing the same thing over and over again. And
Yeah.
I do appreciate, hearing that there's a comic that does Spanish and it's a lot slower cadence than what he does in English.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just part of the community, like just literally how people speak in Spanish too. I think it's using that, like in English, it is it's a language that is faster. That you gotta get, it's direct. It's a more
Yeah.
direct language. In Spanish, it's definitely more like, and it's not seen. I mean, I do have a bit about this in Spanish that I said that where like in English, you can I could text anybody that speak English in the bid was my ex, or like I could text any American friend and be like, hey, call me, and it's fine. Like if I text that to my mom, I can't use 2 words. I gotta use 50 words to be like, hey mom, how are you? How's everything going? Love you. How's the grandma? How's the weather over there? Good. Hey, if you're not that busy, can you call me? Okay, because if I just say call me, my mom's gonna call me like, Francisco, what is that? I didn't arrest you like that. I'm not your secretary. If you want me to call you, and it's like, so literally that, it's like that. So that's kind of like the same way when you have to do stand-up. It's like you'll have to like, you can't, and I learned that as because the first time I started doing it in Spanish, I was doing it like in English, and it was
Hmm.
very quick and short, and people, you could tell people were like, oh, like relax, like,
Whoa.
and it's kind of like the language because you can't be direct in Spanish. It doesn't, you gotta, it's always that BS of like, hey, how's everything going? Good. Oh, by the way, can you pass me that thing? It's like, because it's never like, hey, pass me that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's one example of like, and it's more and like I think the formula in English, I always said it's like pa 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 joke, pa pa joke. In Spanish, it's like pa 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 da da ba da la 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 ba. So like it's more like gossipy too, more like
Yeah.
let's talk. So you don't have to be. So even the punchline can be like you can throw it away. It doesn't have to be so sharp. It's
Yeah.
like you kind of, so it's more like you're telling like a story, you're telling like a gossip, you're going like that. So that's kind of like the rhythm that you have to do, or that I found that I have to do to
It, it
transmit.
it's romantic.
Exactly, exactly. That's the right word. It is romantic, and it's like yes, because in romantic you have to, you want to romanticize somebody, you don't go direct and be like, hey, you gotta be like, hey, how are you? How's everything going? You look great today, by the way, and like, so that's been the change that I had that I seen that I had to make to, and then just basically I always say I have to change my chip. Like when I
Mm,
get a Spanish show, I have to like all right, let me just now listen to music in Spanish. Let me just talk in Spanish. Let me get in that
I
rhythm.
like that.
And I remember not to like be so fast and not speak so fast and remember and all that. Because the bits do translate.
Yeah,
You I think they do. It's like most of them they do. Like to me, funny is funny. If you're funny in any language.
yeah,
You gotta know the language. But if you're, especially as a stand-up, once you know stand-up, you already know like the connection, the basics when somebody's not paying attention, when you gotta like do some little crowd work. That it doesn't matter what language, you're still doing that thing. So it's just, but once you figure out the language, then you can do any stand up in any language. I'm a very true believer because I've seen guys that do Spanish and then do it in English that are good in Spanish and then do it in English. I'm like, you see, it still works.
yeah.
So, but
What does your mom think of your comedy? Was she accepting of you when you said, "Hey, I'm gonna do I'm gonna be a stand-up," or did it have to be kind of a spoon fed to her?
yeah, no, it was me and my mom and my dad. They were like, it was very, I always said like, I had this thing, like, I remember when because I majored in finance and international business.
Oh, wow.
I was back in the Maryland, DC, where I grew up. I went to
Okay.
University of Maryland. I started working in an investment firm, and I was like, "Ah, I don't like. I was like, I remember like, I don't like this. I gotta find something that I like. And I got into like I read one self-help book and they, and told me and I started, like basically I like comedy that I was like
Yeah.
everything that I was always like making people laugh and having fun. So I took an improv class and from there I really got, this is what I like. And then during that time, I also read The Alchemist. I don't know if Paulo
Yeah.
Coelho, great
Yeah.
book
Yeah.
that I want people to read. It talks about how the universe conspires you to fulfill your destiny. Everybody has a destiny in this world,
Hmm.
and you just have to be open to read the signs that the universe gives you. So I'm saying all this stuff because my parents were never like artistic or anything like that. So like, and when I told them I was doing this stuff, they were like, okay, it's like another hobby, like if I was playing, sports or whatever. But then I remember when I finally said like, hey, if I want to do this for real, I need to move, and I decided to move to LA, where I am right now,
Okay.
and uh, and that's when I remember I told them, and when I told them I was gonna move, I thought they were gonna go like crazy, like what are you doing, like. And I told them, and they just went like, okay, like that, literally like that. Which,
Wow.
and going back to minorities, that is like the white parents going like, yes, you go for your dreams, you're the best, like all this. Like, for me, the fact that they didn't yell at me and they just went like, okay, I was like, that was a sign for me going like, oh, I guess I should do this,
Yeah.
like they didn't. I thought they were gonna go like, "Are you crazy? You're not good at this." Nothing, but they didn't say anything. They were just like, So that was. But they've always been like that. And my dad is that's always a sad thing for me because my dad passed away a while back, and
Hmm.
I think he maybe got to see me perform once while still doing open mics, which obviously I wasn't good at that. So like I never got to see, but my mom has actually seen the things, and now my mom has become like a really good like supporter of me. She's the one that sometimes like, don't worry, just pray, this is gonna happen, all this
Yeah.
stuff. Like she's still my mom in that she supports in weird ways. Like one time I remember I did my first uh, part that I did on a television show, Lady Dynamite. It was a Netflix show. I had like, I do a, small part. So she sees it and then when I talked to her, I was like, hey, did you watch the show? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, so the first thing she says like, so how come you only had one line? And I was like, that's the part. I mean, She's like, well, you should have asked for more. I'm like, that's not how it works. I can't just go to the director. Be like, you know what? My mom wants me to do more lines here. It's like, but that's the support of like that I learned to like laugh now about it of like the way that I grew up, or like at least, or like in Latino family or my family is like they look at the negative no matter what. There's
Yeah.
always, and then like, hey, good job, but like, let's first point out this thing that's like, that instead of going like, hey, great job. By the way, why I have a question. Why didn't you do, but I learned to like just laugh at it because that's like that's how they are and that's how I have to. But I know they mean it. They mean it. They support me or they mean it, they like, but it's like it's just they're not communicative.
Yeah. I totally I agree with that. Like we're on the same page. My dad passed away a couple of years ago as well, and like he never like we weren't very close, but he knew I was a funny person. All I wanted to do was like be in the world of comedy and stuff. And even yesterday, I was talking to my mom on the phone, and then I was telling her like, oh, this C plus comedy is 13 years old in a couple of weeks, and I told her I was like, yeah, it's 13, and she goes, yeah, it's a long time. You're gonna make some money from it. I'm like, I'm not here to make content. I'm
Yeah,
here to talk to great, funny people like you, and
yeah.
just like move the conversation about surrounding comedy and the industry like forward. She's like, yeah, but these other people are making money. You can make money too. So,
Yeah. It's like, but yeah, that's great. But yeah,
yeah.
it's like it is, and that's the thing. I remember too. One time, my mom sent me an email of Sofia Vergara's net worth, just
Mm.
like call or something. No subject line, just an empty subject line, nothing. And I'm like, I call her, like, what is this? Oh, just so you know. It's like, oh, that. So it's like just so I know that, like, basically, like, hey, you should be making. How come you're not making this money? It's like, of course, it's like we want to make money, but it's like it is, and people that and sometimes you use, I think as a comic or anybody that's an artist or stuff like that, sometimes you just want to make money just to say to the family, like, here, see, I
Yes.
did it. Now, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
It's kind of like,
exactly.
but it's like, but they don't know. It's like, dude, it's like, it's not like we don't want to, but it's just a process and that's how it is. And it just takes time. And it's just,
Hmm.
I mean, it's like, it's not, but some people, and I always have to remember to like, just people don't that we live in a world that other people don't live in and they don't
Yeah.
understand and sometimes we have to kind of like remember they don't they're living in another they're in the corporate world or whatever it is
Hmm.
they don't understand the things that you have to do to get to a certain level or a certain point to then make the money and do all this stuff but that's the part of doing this I
Hmm.
mean like I think that's I always said like if I wanted to if I just care about money, I would have just stayed doing finance. You
Yeah.
know, well, I
Yeah.
mean, I would have been miserable, but I would have been rich.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
But
but
it's
like you're a
that,
touring comedian. You're happy. You're doing what you
oh
want
yeah,
to do. That's the thing.
and that's of course. I mean, and that's I mean, it takes a while to get to this thing, and then I was like, yes, I'm still doing it. I'm still, and I always have to remind myself that too. I always tell people to like remind yourself because we all, especially when we're in this business together, that sometimes we forget because that's human nature too, especially I think for people like us, we're very we want to keep doing things and very
Hmm.
ambitious. That's the word. And like and sometimes we forget that what we're doing now is what we wanted to do 5 years ago or
Yeah.
10 years ago. And to remember that and to also when you're talking to people that are younger that have or that haven't that are just starting that you're like complaining and they're like, oh, I wish I was doing what you were doing. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? So it's always to like remember that stuff because it's and to also enjoy the stuff and to give yourself props that you're hey you're
Yeah.
doing good. You know what I mean? It's like not because we always look at the negative and we always look at the stuff and it's like no we're doing well man. A lot of people would love to be in this position that I am right now and I have you have to be thankful for it.
Yeah. 100%. I agree with that. One more thing before we go.
Yeah.
The Netflix is a joke fest. I'm so excited to know that you were there with someone who I love, Cristela Alonso.
Oh, I
Uh,
just saw
eh,
her yesterday. She did a show with me to
um,
support the Venezuelan victims from the earthquake. We did a show yesterday, and she was part of it.
really? What was that like?
It was awesome. It was a great show. It was like me and this other Venezuelan comic writer, her name is Joanna Hausman. We organized the show to raise funds to give to people to, for the Venezuelan earthquake victims. And, luckily because of my career that I've known comics, I
Mhm.
got to get, I got good friends with Christella, so I had Christella be on the show, Melissa Villaseñor,
I
and
love Melissa.
Bill Burr came through as well, which was very
Wow.
awesome for him to do that, even because he was traveling and he came and did it, and it was very cool, very beautiful experience, and same thing happened with the Netflix A Joke. Christella was very cool because that was the first time that we did that I showed in Spanish was
Yeah.
done in the Comedy Store original room, which is like the most sacred one or the most,
Yeah.
you know, and I asked her to be part of it, and she was very cool. She's like, "Yeah, let me be part of it. I want to help you push this Spanish stand up," and she did stand up set in Spanish, and it was great. I mean, been part of it of that festival, and to have that show at the Comedy Store, which was basically the only show in the whole festival in the Comedy Store that was in Spanish. That was pretty cool.
Wow. Dude, that's so awesome, man. I just wanted to hear about that because I like her a lot, and it's
Me too.
amazing that you guys are able to like all come together just for this one cause. That's
Yeah.
fantastic to hear.
And also she's so great too. Like she was one of the first comics that took me on the road and I learned I mean I learned with one of the things a lot of things I learned from her, but one of the things I learned is like how to treat people on the road, how to
Mhm.
treat other comics on the road, because she always made me feel like a friend,
Mm.
like I wasn't like it wasn't like, oh, I'm there to, help you. So she was like, no, we would stay in the same hotel, we would eat on the same things. It felt
Mm.
very cool. And I was like, oh, this is the cool, like when I have this opportunity, I want to do the same thing. I want to make people that I bring on the road feel very welcome and very like, hey, you're just here because I believe in you and you're good and I want you to get an opportunity to perform in front of other people's and she did that and also just a great person, just learning, just even the way that she treats her fans. I was like, oh, that's just how it's supposed to be and all this stuff. So yeah, she's great.
Man, that's lovely to hear, man. That's great. Man, Francisco, you are a wonderful guy and you are a
Oh,
very funny comedian. I'm so glad I was able to do this today with you and you're able to sit down with me. Congratulations on still learning. And
thank you.
I hope to talk to you again soon for the next
Yes,
great
I
special.
love to. Yeah, me too. Let me know. I love to. I saw your channel, your YouTube channel, and I was very I was like impressed and love that the way that you communicate, the way that you interview people, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I'd love to do it again some other time, man. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, you're very welcome. Again, good luck with this and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All right, see ya.